Tonight on Paranormal.
July 15th, Monday, 2013. We're on our way to the Berkshires in Massachusetts to investigate the 1737 New Boston Inn.
Crypto and Paranormal has investigated the New Boston Inn since 2008, and there's been a total of 3 investigations.
There is a strong yet stable electromagnetic field. I don't know what the source is. Gotta grab equipment. Something might be going down.
And the door is open. Did you just open that door?
The bloom of these mountains is beyond expression delightful. Herman Melville. Built in 1737, the New Boston Inn is located in the town of Sandusfield, Massachusetts, in the area known as the Berkshire Hills. The Berkshires, encompassing dozens of towns and cities in western Connecticut and Massachusetts, it is a region famous for its rural beauty, folk art, and culture. The summers are green and lush. The winters long, cold, and white. Home to such institutions as the Tanglewood Music Center and Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival, artists like Edith Wharton, Arlo Guthrie, James Taylor, Norman Rockwell, and countless others have lived, performed, and continue to find inspiration in these quiet green mountains. Its past can be seen and felt all around. Visit any of the local towns and you will still find homes and even businesses that have stood for 2 centuries or more. New England is home to perhaps the largest collection of inns and bed and breakfasts in America, the Berkshires being no exception, and nearly all are said to have a ghost or 2 roaming the halls. Some, like the infamous Lizzie Borden home in Fall River, Massachusetts, have even used their ghosts and grisly pasts to their advantage, offering rooms and tours to believers and skeptics alike. New Boston Inn's owned by a very nice lady named Barbara, and over the years she's recorded and reported some really unusual things within the inn. Tucked away in the quiet town of Sandusfield, the New Boston Inn has been welcoming guests and thirsty travelers since 1737. Constructed by Captain Daniel Brown, the founder of New Boston and who held the first tavern license, the inn grew to include a full kitchen and dining rooms, 7 guest rooms, and the barrel-ceilinged ballroom on the 2nd floor. Despite renovations and restorations on at least 3 occasions, the inn retains much of its 18th century character. The original tap room remains today, as do the authentic Kingswood floors and walls. Barbara Colorio, who has owned the inn for over a decade, would not appear on camera, but spoke with crypto investigators openly, and revealed that she never really believed in ghosts before acquiring the building, but is now convinced that someone or something from its long and at times checkered past remains to this day. Disembodied footsteps have been heard in the halls. Glasses and cutlery move by themselves in the dining room. Doors swing open and closed, and once a serving tray crashed to the floor with no explanation. Lights flash and flicker in many of the guest rooms, and bedside clock radios turn on by themselves. The door of room 1 locks itself with no explanation, and the door of room 6 rattles in the night as if someone is trying to enter. The sound of a non-existent party has been heard echoing from the ballroom, as well as the shuffle of playing cards. These and more strange disturbances have been reported by guests and staff alike. The big story behind New Boston Inn is, of course, the story of Harriet. Harriet is supposed to be this woman who was shot on her wedding day sometime in the late 1800s by a former suitor of hers. She was brought across the hall into room 4 where she actually died, and she's supposed to be one of the spirits that haunts the building.
As far as the story of Harriet, there's no real historical documentation found on it, besides for just, word of mouth, town stories and things like that.
Nobody even knows her last name. So at this time, we really can't say that the story's true. It's just kind of this legend, which is a big part of why people believe the inn to be haunted.
Barbara's relationship to paranormal activity seems to be very high and interactive. She's very open-minded, open to entities and paranormal experiences. Her statement is that everything there gives her the feeling of being friendly, not things like that are malicious or scary. She's relatively comfortable there.
Crypto's conducted a total of 3 investigations of New Boston Inn to date, the first in the summer of 2008. Today is July 8th, 2008. Doing the initial walkthrough of the New Boston Inn, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That day there were 3 members present, myself, my father, and one of our former investigators. We conducted a tour of the building, interviewed Barbara, the owner, and then conducted an overnight investigation of the inn. One of the first things we did back in 2008 was try to see if we could come up with natural explanations for the phenomenon that has been reported there.
Is it a full attic or just a
No, it's
crawl
a
space?
crawl space.
The inn's got some interesting architectural features working for it. All of the doors are actually built at a slight angle so that they will swing shut by themselves. A lot of the windows on the outside are actually built facing away from the building at a slight angle so that rain and snow will always fall away from the building. A lot of the claims at New Boston Inn have been electrical in nature, clock radios turning on by themselves, lights dimming and flashing, and high electromagnetic fields reported in the ballroom. Old or faulty wiring could easily account for some of these experiences. The inn has been investigated numerous times in the past by a lot of different investigators and research groups, most notably the Atlantic Paranormal Society during the filming of the first season of the popular show Ghost Hunters.
During TAP's investigation of room 6, they did encounter something occurring while a room was sealed off.
One of their investigators, Brian Bell, reported that a pen, which had been placed on a guest book in that room, allegedly moved by itself and actually left a mark on the book. Barbara, the owners, told me that other objects, including the chair that's in the corner of that room, have also been reported to move by themselves. Although we had cameras and audio set up in every room, we really didn't come back with anything visual or audio that couldn't be explained. But Miranda and I decided to go back a couple years later and continue our research. On our second investigation of the New Boston Inn, we set up cameras and other equipment just as before.
In room 1, the claims of activity that have happened there, the lock mechanism on the door has said to have locked itself from the inside. When Nick and I went there on investigation 2, which was my first investigation, we did try to recreate and fiddle around with the door and the surrounding walls, pushing them, seeing if someone maybe bumped into it, could it cause the latch to close on itself.
If it's shutting and locking on her, it would have to be in the up position.
Yeah, but if she can't close the door when it's in the up position, how can she shut it?
And if it were to go up, it would be going up against the pull of gravity,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Weird. Yeah.
We were not able to recreate the incident.
We can't debunk the door. I don't know, man.
At one point during the investigation, we were doing baselines in room 6 by the place where ghost hunters had recorded the anomaly to happen with the pen. We picked up some really high EMF.
There is a strong yet stable, extra low frequency electromagnetic field. Definitely picking up on something. I'm gonna move the book. It's weird. I don't know what the source is. It's not coming from this heating apparatus. There's nothing under here. There's nothing in the drawers. There is no outlet directly behind that area. The only outlet's down here. I'm not getting a spike at all. Meter's still on. Maybe we have a haunted wardrobe.
Or a haunted book.
The readings that we found of EMF in room 6 are interesting because where we were getting these spikes happened in the same spot that the pen had allegedly moved.
At one point during the investigation, I was standing on the second floor hallway, a little before 4 o'clock in the morning, and I heard what I thought was a television on low volume at the end of the hall. The interesting thing is, there are no televisions in any of the guest rooms. The only explanation was it was coming from the owner's apartment on the first floor. Upon going down to the first floor to investigate, we couldn't hear a TV at all. We couldn't hear anything. Later on, a little before 5 o'clock in the morning, Miranda ended up hearing the voices too.
Towards the end of the investigation, we were about to wrap up and just doing a final sweep. I was standing by the hallway and I thought that I heard voices. It sort of sounded like someone having a conversation in the distance, maybe in one of the rooms or something.
How you doing, Miranda?
My back hurts. And it's early. How are you doing there?
Actually, I'm doing rather peachy for a little after 5 on a Tuesday.
Is that a bird? I think it's birds. It's like I keep hearing it and then it becomes birds. It sounds so stupid.
What'd you think you heard?
It sounds like TV, like talking.
When I heard the noises in the hall, we decided to get the bionic ear and some audio equipment to see if we can kind of hone in on what the sound was.
Gotta grab equipment. Something might be going down. Can you give me a sign of your presence? Leaving room 6. Did you just hear something?
Yeah, it sounded weird.
What'd you hear?
I mean, I guess it could have been a bird, but it sounded a little bit like talking.
Later, upon evidence review, we found that the only thing we could hear was birds chirping.
I think it's very possible auditory pareidolia could account for this experience. Pareidolia, also known as matrixing or pattern recognition, is the human mind's natural and subconscious ability of forming familiar patterns out of complex data.
And it can happen with sounds. If you hear something that you're not exactly sure what it is, your brain tries to match it to something that you can recognize. The most recent investigation that we conducted at New Boston Inn was in August 2016.
We decided to change it up a little bit for that investigation and really target specific areas of the inn, primarily the dining room, the ballroom, room 6, and the second floor hallway.
For the third investigation of New Boston Inn, we did a little bit of a different setup. We only placed 5 cameras in certain rooms, then we did set up motion detectors We also set up a laser grid in the hall where we thought we had heard voices in prior investigation. And we also, of course, had audio equipment as well as the regular meters. One of the first things that we did after we had our equipment set up is we did a regular set of baselines, and then we did a thermal sweep with the FLIR.
So right now we're taking our first sets of baseline readings throughout the building. We're focusing tonight on a couple locations: the dining room, the ballroom, which we're in right now, and room 6. Baseline readings are one of the most important things to C.P.I. because environmental data is really what we're looking for. 0.4, 0.5. No EMF pollution from the thermostat. Alright, well if you turn on the light, there's definitely an increase in ELF from the AC lines in the wall, but there was definitely no light in the bathroom last time.
Heading into the parlor.
I'm doing a FLIR sweep of the room. The FLIR looks at thermal images, so it can pick up like heat signatures. So that's what it looks like.
Oh, that's an antique refrigerator. That's pretty cool.
Room 2 and 3 have reports of lights starting to dim by themselves. Entering room 2. The whole building doesn't dim, it's just those 2 rooms. See your reflection in the
Oh, in the window?
picture, and now mine in the window. We are staying in room 3, which is where we are now, and the reports of activity in this room recently have been lights dimming.
I will tell you one thing, boys and girls back home, I will be putting the air conditioner on tonight, because damn.
It's all in the 80s for those of you who are curious about how frickin' scorching hot it is.
We decided to conduct our first EVP session of the night in the main dining room.
When an entity speaks to you or is trying to communicate with you, it's not always audible to our human ears, so we use devices like the audio recording devices to be able to try to catch some type of interaction or someone hopefully speaking. Hello, my name is Miranda, and this is Nick. I don't know if you remember us. We were here 2 years ago, and Nick was here one time before that. We're just here to, try to communicate with you, say hi.
Temperature 77.6. How many people are in the inn tonight?
There are a bunch of meters around, or equipment. You don't have to be worried about any of them. None of them are going to hurt you or bother you in any way.
Do you work here? Or did you work here at some point? Is your name Harriet? Everybody keeps referring to the woman who passed away in this hotel as Harriet. But if that was not your name, would you be able to tell us who you are?
Barbara tells us that you like to communicate with her. If you like to communicate with people, you could go near any one of these meters and they would help us know that you're here. Or you could move something or touch one of us or say something.
I'm talking now to the man who took Harriet's life
I'm talking to the murdering bastard who murdered a woman on her wedding day. And if you are still here, I order you to give us a sign of your presence. Don't be a coward. We don't like cowards.
Yeah, it's the DC. When we were sitting in the dining room doing EVP, one of the meters started going off.
All right, DC's going off. Is there anybody here right now? Mark time 124. Is there somebody in this room with us right now? Whoa. That was a pretty good spike.
Yeah.
Stay on the meters. If there's somebody here with us right now, we need you to give us a more extreme sign of your presence. Move a glass on a table. Touch one of us. It wasn't the DC that was making that noise, it was the microwave. The DC was spiking too.
Yeah. When we investigated the meters, we found that both of the batteries, because there were two different meters, both of the batteries had been drained.
Microwave's battery is basically 100% drained. Okay, I'm checking its battery. I'll do a battery test. Low battery. I don't really want to say potential power drain, but that was all a little unusual.
The theory behind power drains is that paranormal entities have the potential to absorb the energy from batteries, therefore it can drain a battery even if it's fully charged.
Oftentimes when we're investigating these allegedly haunted locations, we'll notice that batteries which had been fully charged just moments ago will rapidly lose battery charge. I'm hesitant to say this was the result of a ghost or entity drawing the batteries from our devices, but it was interesting that two fully charged devices lost power within minutes of each other.
Thank God for the GoPro. Can't wait to check that out. Okay, battery's good on this one.
We continued to sit in the dining room for a while and just see if anything else would happen.
If your name is not Harriet, can you tell us again who you are? I'm sorry to keep asking. We're just having a hard time hearing you.
After concluding the EVP session in the dining room, we decided to go up to the ballroom.
So we're about to go and just set up some meters in room 6 before conducting a auditory response experiment in the ballroom. I'll put this on some.
A music response experiment is when you play an audio recording in the hopes of sort of eliciting or arousing some type of activity to occur. And some of the reportings that have happened at New Boston Inn, particularly in the ballroom, is sound of music playing.
Okay. Go for music response. This is Mozart. Are you familiar with Mozart? Harriet, what sort of music did they play during your wedding? That's all the music that we have. I hope you liked it.
If you want us to play more for you, just try to ask us. If you talk really loudly into one of these little red lights, we might be able to hear you. If you did like the music, would you be able to knock on something twice in a row for yes? If you didn't like the music that we played, would you be able to knock 3 times for no, please? After we finished our work in the ballroom, Miranda and I decided to split up and conduct separate EVP sessions in different parts of the building.
For the first set of the EVP session, Nick took room 1 and I went into room 6.
VLF is at 0.23.
Mark A and B cams and audio. So right now I'm chilling on the bed in room 1 where the door supposedly locks itself. Hello? Is there anybody in this room with me right now? How many people are staying at the inn tonight?
Do you like being here? I know Barbara enjoys your company. Are you here by choice? Or are you stuck here?
Are you the one people say, lock this door from time to time? Is there a reason why you do that? If there is anybody here, would you be able to lock this door right now?
There have been reports of shaking of the door. Was that you? When people are staying here?
Could you tell me your name, please? I know Barbara wants to learn more about you. And we'd be happy to give her any message that you might have.
How long have you been here? Did you just make a sound? During this session, I thought that I heard maybe like a footstep or some type of noise like creak by the door. And the door is open. Did you just open that door? If you could you open the door a little bit further?
All right, if that was you who made that noise a few seconds ago, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. But maybe would you be able to do something a little bit louder?
If you could you maybe make a sound for me or come and touch me or move something? I'm moving. And re-shut this door. Or if you'd like to come on in, you know, you're more than welcome. Is there anybody in this room with me right now? Does it bother you when people stay here?
Miranda, come in, over.
Time to switch, okay?
Okie dokie.
After about an hour, Miranda and I decided to switch rooms. I went to sit in room 6, and Miranda took my spot in room 1. Hey. How'd it go?
There was one sound I thought I might have heard outside the door. Maybe a footstep or something like that. And then the door popped open. So it could have maybe been something with that.
Wait, the door opened?
Yeah.
How far did it open?
Not very far. Like a crack.
Okay. Were you filming? Were you still rolling?
Yeah. And then I got up and shut the door.
We'll go full dark in here. Might as well, right? Good evening, or should I say good morning? Anybody in this room with me right now?
Hello. I don't know if you heard me saying my name before, but I'm Miranda. What's your name? Do you like this room?
Did you like my friend Miranda who was just in here? She said that this door moved a little bit. We thought maybe it was you or a breeze. And if it wasn't a breeze, if it was you, would you be able to open the door?
If you're nervous about talking to me or my friend Nick, you don't have to be. We're not here to hurt you or intrude or make you feel uncomfortable or anything. We just want to be able to talk to you.
Temperature 75.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Is it true that a woman died in this inn? Is it true that she was killed on her wedding day? Were you here when that happened? Did you see it happen?
If there's anything that you can do, move something or knock on something, make a noise or say something, or you could even come over and touch me, that would be appreciated so that I know that you're here.
That's a wrap. I think we're gonna call it for tonight.
We wrapped the EVP session around 5, and luckily we were staying at the inn, so we were able to just go right to bed after concluding that.
Okay, it's 6:15 here on September 1st. Brandon and I just wrapped the investigation. Cameras are still rolling, and we're preparing to go to bed now. What's left of the night, or rather early morning, here in room 3. Yay! Here we are. So, good night. Bye-bye. After wrapping our field investigation at New Boston, we drove back to New York and began reviewing our evidence from that case.
When I was in room 6, I picked a chair to sit in and to go and conduct my EVP session. I saw that the door was cracked open ajar. When I saw the door cracked open ajar, I went into the hallway to just take a look around, and I didn't see or hear anything. During the review of the investigation, we were unable to see the door cracking open ajar on the video footage. When we reviewed the evidence, we didn't really find anything for video or audio.
Nothing showed up that we didn't notice at the time. All environmental conditions were within normal levels.
Based on my experiences, I don't think that we can really deem New Boston Inn as a haunted location. We don't necessarily have the full data set to be able to deem it a haunting, but it definitely is a really cool location to check out. And Barbara's great. She sets out like a whole buffet, even though it's just like Nick and I staying there. So it's a great experience.
New Boston Inn's a great place, and I think we've hit it hard on our 3 investigations. What the future holds for C.P.I. research at New Boston Inn is really unclear at this time. We've got a lot of other cases coming up at this point, including our return visit to the Palazzo residence. We've got to get back in there and mess with their raincoat.